This is Becca Hammond, and you're listening to the Burlington Talks podcast. What's new, 802? The Burlington Talks podcast may include graphic or explicit content. Listener discretion is advised. This is Becca Hammond, and I'm here with Matthew Sicard, the owner of the Guardhouse Studios, a new venue that just opened near St. Mike's on the Winooski-Colchester line. And he's also the drummer in the Jesse Taylor Band, which is a really cool band. I just got to check them out last week, and we're going to be talking about that. He also owns a company called Nasty North Productions that produces videos. Matthew, thank you so much for being my first guest on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell me a little bit about the Guardhouse Studios, just to start, what you want everyone to know about the place?
Sure, yeah. I've been here about a year. I started off just renting a room here for my band to rehearse. About 3 months ago, I went to the owner, and we started talking about how this was this huge space he had that was empty, and how I just thought that there was so much more that could be done. We came up with a couple different ideas. One of them was to have a bunch of rooms be renting out for bands, kind of like a think tank, or like you see out in LA or in Silicon Valley for apps and everything, startups.
Right, like a collaboration of musicians.
Right,
in the
but
area.
Instead of us making apps, so we have musicians making music. And then we had this huge waiting room this used to be like a pediatrics office.
Oh, okay.
So we have this huge waiting room that was just wasted, and we thought, why not turn it into a little place to have all ages music and shows? And so that's kind of been our goal. Burlington used to have a place called 242 years ago. It's been shut for a while. Big Heavy World does all ages shows as well, but we were just trying to have something else, another place that we could do some DIY shows and have, handicap accessible parking, bathrooms, heat, good PA system, and just try to all the checklists that people seem to ask for around here.
Right,
so.
really need in a venue. Yeah, it definitely has a 242 feel to it. That first show I got to come to was a lot of fun. It has an exclusive vibe. It's very cool. I'm excited for the next shows to come out. So all these rooms you're planning on renting out to bands, and how many bands do you have renting for rehearsal space here right now?
So right now we have 10 bands in here. I have about 20 rooms. So I'm probably going to rent maybe 7 more, and I'm going to leave 3 empty so that I can turn them into storage rooms. And that way I can have a few rooms where maybe if a band financially can't afford what I'm charging to have a room all to themselves, then they can share a room and they'll have a room to store their stuff in. It'll be a little bit cheaper.
Yeah, that's an awesome idea, because I know the expense to get into renting rehearsal space is something that definitely holds people off.
Yeah.
And in Burlington, a lot of people are renting. I know I'm renting, and it's really, really hard. I can't play a drum in my apartment. There's no way. Even when I'm beating on my guitar loudly and singing, I start getting wall slams from the neighbors.
I used to be able to hear my neighbor's phone on vibrate when I used to live in Burlington.
Oh, that's really bad.
Yeah. It used to drive me nuts. I thought someone was calling me and I couldn't find my phone.
I'm not surprised, though, considering how thin the walls are in some places. So that's great. That's really awesome and exciting. Yeah. So 7 more rooms to rent out. Yeah. So if there are bands looking right now, get in touch with Matthew as soon as possible.
They can go to theguardhousestudio at gmail.com on Facebook, reach out to me, Instagram, whatever. And
awesome.
Yeah, it's real easy.
So do you guys have any other shows planned upcoming yet?
So I've been hesitant to book shows. I had a lot of people reach out, but I wanted to have our first show so I could kind of get my feet wet, see what any issues we ran into, how much I was going to have to put into it, because I'm not really making anything. This is more of like me just donating my time.
Right.
So I need to be able to, be realistic in what I can do. So I'm thinking right now I can personally do probably 1 show a month. I have a couple college kids that used to run a place in Burlington called The Lip that they're actually coming back to Vermont next week. So they're supposed to be helping me and hopefully be running it. So our goal is every other Friday.
Oh, that's awesome.
From there, if things seem to take off and it can support more, we'll do more. But it's really just about what the local scene, if they need it, and then it's not
Right.
just 4 people here, then we'll keep doing it.
Right. It's not all about you putting in all the work. You
Right,
need help.
yeah.
You need some kind of, it sounds like you really need some volunteers.
Right, yeah.
So is that an idea you're open to if these guys are a band looking to find a rehearsal space and they want to come help you out
Yeah,
and
I
support
think
the
so.
cause?
I've reached out to St. Michael's College, to their music director. He's supposed to be having a meeting with me in a few weeks. We talked about, I pitched to him in an email about having a couple, if students were interested in volunteering, they'd get some real world resume building stuff
Right.
kind of in the industry, and I would feel a little more comfortable. Because there's a lot of expensive stuff here, and it's hard just to, give people keys to this place and, say,
Yeah.
come on in. I do have a ton of cameras, and I've tried to put a lot of, to be really mindful of everything with every step as I've gone. And, but that was our big thinking, was maybe St. Mike's. I also was thinking UVM, but St. Mike's was just so close that the kids could literally walk here. And
Yeah, we're right on the campus.
Right.
Was this a part of the campus at one point in time?
I don't believe this building was, but there's a bunch of buildings across the street from me that are all part of it. Yeah, I mean the Vermont Youth Orchestra is probably 3 buildings down the street, and I believe St. Mike's shares the building with them. So
Yeah,
I
that
think they
makes
call
sense.
it the L building or LE building. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a few, and then a bunch of St. Mike's maintenance buildings are here where they keep their trucks and yeah.
Right. So, Matthew, can you tell me a little bit about VAMP?
Yeah, so VAMP is the Vermont Adolescent Music Program. It's an idea that I came up with maybe 2 years ago. I was gearing it towards kids that are at risk, if in foster homes, group homes, in DCF custody, maybe they're in corrections, whatever the case may be, have addicted parents. A lot of times youths will be forced to go to one-on-one counseling, and a lot of times they will kind of fight it because it's very sterile. You're meeting with somebody in a weird area, and you don't want to talk to this person, open up.
Yeah, I'm sure that's hard. If they're in a hard situation, that's really difficult.
So, how can I relate to you? So, my thinking was to have a kind of an alternative therapeutic program where we would have maybe 5 to 10 kids coming from these at-risk in the beginning. They would come, they would learn an instrument, or maybe they're into photography, so they would take photos for the bands, for their website, or maybe they're interested in social media or podcasts. Whatever we could do to kind of tie it in, they're all working together for one goal, but they're around positive people. There would be a counselor there that's a licensed therapist. That it wouldn't be a one-on-one thing, but they'd be able to interact with them, and it would give them social building skills. It would give them a safe place to go, and a healthy way to express themselves artistically without.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, there's so many different aspects that even if you don't want to play an instrument,
Right.
you can still be involved in the music industry and involved in the community in general, because we have such a great music community in this area.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, so we've been slowly, it's been an idea, and I need a place to do it. So it's kind of like, I call it my phase 2. Phase 1 was getting the Guardhouse up and running, which to fund that was renting the rooms so that I was able to pay rent in the building so I could put shows on. And then now that I have the space, it's beginning to work with the Howard Center and Vermont. I'm working with Vermont Mental Health and a few other companies, or a few other state entities that are helping me kind of build a structure that where they think will work and with the right components and go from there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
So the biggest thing with the venue is we're trying to do an all ages thing, just so that we have a place for kids that are, 10 to 45 to 80 years old that want to come here and hang out and see some live music. They don't want to have to, a lot of places you can't see live music anymore if you're not 21 or 18.
Yeah, very true.
But we're also, I've been reaching out to a couple local breweries around here about doing some 21 plus shows where it would almost be, they would kind of take over the space.
Right.
And then they would be running it, and basically we would just supply the music, and it would kind of be a a co-event, but that's probably not until 2020 sometime. We'll start doing those.
That's a great idea, because I know all of these breweries they have awesome events, and that would definitely bring a lot of people in that would never have heard about it, probably because they're just beer heads.
Right.
They're not into the music as much as they are the beer.
And it's literally like, for most of these breweries, even these smaller guys, for $30, they can have a 24-hour, I think it's called a pop-up license, and they can literally just set up somewhere. And I believe there's stipulations on how you serve it. I believe it's only keg.
Right.
But then they just basically $30 can set up and you're good to go. And it's just a way to help them advertise, help us advertise, working together. And
Right. Get your audience to see them, get their audience to see you. Yeah, it's a great idea.
You always got to think outside the box. It's just the only way you're going to get ahead, I feel like, is always thinking of ways to get around the norm, because...
Exactly. Yeah. Like, how are you going to reach the people, especially when you're talking a local business where it's not as easy as, I'm just going to pay for ads on Google and that's going to magically result in people finding me, which has now become what the norm is for so many businesses. They just buy AdWords and that's all they do. So doing local grassroots kind of guerrilla marketing is a great idea, I think, for this area. Yeah,
and then we also I met with a couple businesses in the area, and we also kicked around the idea of possibly doing a kind of like, are you familiar with Waking Windows that they do in Winooski?
Nope, I haven't heard of it.
So Waking Windows, this year will be their 10th year. They kind of like all the businesses in Winooski kind of like set up little tents and host musicians, and there's music playing all over the area. And so we kicked around the idea of doing something similar, but in the fort. So all the businesses would basically get involved, and we'd maybe do like a weekend-long festival in the fort. So all of there's a few coffee shops and some breweries in here, and a bunch of other businesses that I'm not aware of that, we could all get together and just...
Yeah, that's a great idea. Yeah. I didn't realize how much was back here because I just haven't been in this area very much.
Right.
And this is such a cool area. So you call it the fort.
Yeah.
That's cool. I had no idea. So how long have you been in the Burlington area?
So I was born in Burlington. I went to high school here and grew up here. When I turned 18, I moved out to Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta for about 3 years, and then I moved to Florida for a year in Tampa, and then I lived in Boston up until 2010, and then I moved back to Vermont in 2010, and I've been here since.
So what inspired you to come back?
Just my family, I think, and just I think I wanted to get away, and then I got as far as I could on the East Coast and slowly made my way back. And then some employment opportunities showed up, and part of it was me going to Vermont, and it worked out. And I got offered a really good job at Stowe, so it was like a dream job. They were giving me lodging, free passes, and living on the mountain. It was at the time I was 26, so it was just ideal for me. I was excited.
Right. Are you a snowboarder?
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, I'm glad you came back and you started all of this. This is awesome and very exciting for the area. So can you tell me a little bit about the Jesse Taylor Band?
Yeah. Jesse had an ad on Craigslist, or I don't know if Jesse did or I did. Either I had an ad, drummer looking for a band, or she had an ad looking for a drummer. Somehow we connected. And she had an EP out. It was like an acoustic rock style EP. We jammed a few times and things started clicking, and over the last year we've kind of evolved into this indie rock style sound that we have. She calls it honest rock. I try to give it like a funky, almost hip-hop drum beat sometimes, something danceable, because I know that a lot of people just want to go out and dance and have fun.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love going out and finding bands that are upbeat enough that you can actually jump around a bit to them. Right.
So, my background was more of like alternative rock music. But with Jessie, her style of songwriting, I was trying to give it more of like almost a Sublime kind of upbeat, this dancey vibe.
Yeah, kind of bounce to it.
Yeah. And it's been great. I mean, since we've been together, Nick joined us, who I used to play another band with, and things have just been going great. We've just been getting tons of gigs. And
what does Nick play?
Nick plays lead guitar.
Yeah, you guys were awesome. I was very impressed. Like, each of you was very impressive on your own, and as a group, you sounded very clean. Everything was very tight.
Yeah, we practice a lot, and me, Nick, and Jesse have been together about a year. And Ian, the bass player, has been with us probably about 3 months, and he just jumped right in running, and it's been great. So,
yeah, he's a wicked bass player. Yeah. I play bass, so watching him was a lot of fun, and watching you drum was a lot of fun. Everything was just really happening and happening well together, which is a great thing to see with local bands. Sometimes you just don't know what you're getting into when you go to some of the local shows, but everyone who was here on Friday night was absolutely amazing. I had so much fun at that show.
Yeah, I tried to get a lot of good bands for the first show that had good followings, a couple college bands. Lake Waves we played with before, and we love them. And Boys Cruise we played with a few times, and they're great. Their
stage presence was something else
entirely. It's very unique, their style of how they choreograph everything, and it's pretty wild.
Very entertaining to watch. I didn't realize that there was going to be another band, and then it turned out that it was these guys I'd been standing next to all night, and they were phenomenal.
Yeah, they're great.
That's the fun thing about the local bands. It's someone you kind of know, or you're just hanging out around, and then all of a sudden they're a rock star in front of you, and it's so cool.
Yeah, it's great, and you become family with everybody. I've played with all these bands for years, throughout different bands, and them in different bands, so it's great helping each other out. And even Boston bands, like we have a bunch of bands we play with a lot from Boston, so whenever they're in town, we help them out, and when we go to Boston, they help us.
What are some of the band? Just a few names.
Northwoods is one. We're going to be playing with them in February at the Monkey House, February 1st. It'll be Northwoods, us. Everyway is another band. They'll be coming up. The Knockups, which is a three-piece. It's three girls. They're from Boston, and they're really cool.
Cool.
They're like they're kind of like maybe a little bit more indie, like a Hole kind of band. Cool. For Halloween, they did a whole set. So
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love things that have a little gimmick to them. I know that the gimmick can be a little gimmicky sometimes, but it's the greatest. It really pulls you in.
The Knockups are awesome. The lead singer is a Berkeley professor at the School of Music.
Oh, cool.
She's awesome.
So do you want to tell me a little bit about the contest that you guys had entered?
Yeah, we entered a contest with this record label called Plaid Dog Records and Plaid Dog Studios out of Boston. And basically they do like a talent search twice a year. It's nationwide. It's all over Facebook, YouTube, Craigslist. And you send them in a demo, and if you're lucky enough to get picked, they will record a single with you. They'll record a video with you. Basically run your social media for 30 days with all this marketing to help you do a crowdfunding. So we sent the demo 6 months ago, and we got picked, and it was a lot of work. We had it every Thursday for 2 months. We would meet here, have a phone interview with one of the workers there. We'd have homework every night. It was like a lot of like spreadsheet stuff, emails, phone numbers, things that you're preparing for when the thing, selfie photos, artwork, just you name it, a list of things. And we did all that. And then once we were ready, we launched our campaign, and like they have some algorithm that decides what they think you'll raise. Our number was $10,000. So then the campaign launches. You give them your passwords to all of your social media, and they have all these programs that run it. One's called Milkshake, one's called Monkey Bot or something.
Oh, cool! And they just automate the marketing for you on the social media
basically,
side.
Yeah. So like every day you'll get an email where it has like things you fill in the blank, like what percentage you're at, a photo, whatever photo it tells you to put in. And you put all these things in, and then the next day, throughout the day, it's loading them up for you and spitting them out. And we raised $7,000 in the first, I think, week. And then it was a 40-day thing. So then the last, 3 weeks, we raised the other $3,000. And
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
So do you have any idea where the donations were coming from? Were they local?
Yeah, a lot of family, a lot of like extended family, people we went to high school with, we haven't seen in years. I would say 50% of it came from people that was compiled from our like all of our months of like, putting emails and phone numbers.
Right.
And the other 50% was just Facebook. So once they were posting every day on Facebook, people that we were friends with on Facebook, but I don't have their email, their phone number, anything else. They were seeing it, and like the random people. Jessie got a donation for $1,000 for some girl that she goes to yoga with.
Oh, really?
So you never
That's
know.
awesome.
Yeah. So it was great, and so we reached our goal. Today is the last day. We're finally done.
Congrats.
Yeah. So we raised $10,100. So we have $100 for gas money and $10,000 for the album, and it should be released this spring sometime.
And are they all going to be original songs on the album?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And are they already written? Do you have to fill it out at all?
Yeah. So the album is, all the songs are written. It's just a matter of us going down to Boston and producing them. So they'll probably change. The song from the single we released, Adore You, was written a lot different than how we recorded it, which is just, it's good when you go to a studio, you have a bunch of producers there, and they're kicking around ideas of what they think will make it sound better or more catchy, so that was that song. It didn't change much, but it changed a little bit.
That's what I was just going to ask. Did you notice, okay, this is how we wrote the song. Now we've done this recording. Now coming back and playing it live again, is there any difference to you guys?
So the biggest change with it was just the structure. Like there was an intro part to the song that was probably about a minute long, where there was no singing, and they cut it down to about 30 seconds. And then the ending, we were ending on the chorus, the chorus part of the song. We were ending the song on. And they wanted to change it to the verse melodies. So it just getting used to like ending the song in a different place took us a little bit. But,
yeah, I'm sure you guys just kind of like, I started
right.
playing.
Like, how do we stop now? Because we're so used to stopping at this other part, and
right, you gotta relearn the same song you already know, kind of.
But what we did was, before we picked our single, we came in and I set up my studio here, and I recorded us playing all the songs, and then we sent them all to Dave, Mike Davidson, and we sent them all to Mike, and he kind of picked I think we sent 12 songs, and he picked like the top 5 that he thought would be the good single, and then we picked the one that we liked out of that. And,
oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's one of the questions I had for you about the studio in general. Are you doing any recording here, really?
Not too much. I do a lot with friends of mine, people that I've played with in music with. I don't do it as a business. I don't make any money from it. So there's a band I used to play guitar, or there's a band I play guitar in called Far From Silence. We record. Jesse, I record sometimes. There's a few other bands that actually some guys that are renting from me that asked me just to help them record a demo. So I'll come in and I'll set it up and I'll record them, and I have everything you need. I don't have the time to focus it as a business.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of editing too, if you're being serious about it.
I like to do two songs. If a band needs help, I'll help them out and do it.
Right, just so they have that little EP they can kind of
right,
show
yeah.
off.
Like I have one band in here right now called Burning Bush, and
I think I've heard of them on Facebook. Actually.
Yeah, they're younger, and they asked me if I could help them. They said that they've never done it in their lives, and I was like, yeah, you practice for like a couple months, and then pick the 2 songs you guys want, and then we'll lay it down.
And when you guys do that, it doesn't sound like you're doing it for everybody, but when you do record, do you guys just play normally like you would, and you have enough microphones set up that you can record everyone naturally?
It depends. It depends on the circumstances. If I was recording that band, I would probably just do us live. When I was doing Far From Silence, the band that I was playing guitar in, we would do it all from a click track. So I would lay down a click track. I would lay down all the guitar from start to finish. I would lay down all the bass from start to finish. And then the drummer would come in and he'd lay down everything. And then we would mix it all, and then we would give it that finished product to the singer, and then he'd lay down.
Right.
So it just depends. What they're comfortable with, what their vision is. If one band I helped, there was only 2 of them, but they wanted like 5 instruments, so you have to kind of.
Right. If there's only 2 people, then you definitely can't record it all at once. If there's 5 instruments, that's
so it
great.
just depends. Like when we did our song, we did a couple takes of it without a click, and then we did a couple takes with the click. And I like the click better just because I can kind of lean on it more than anybody else. And
I'm sure as a drummer, it's probably really helpful so you don't slow down and speed up slightly.
Right. Yeah.
Every drummer I've ever worked with, no matter how great they are, they seem to want to go faster at the end of the song. They just because they're excited. It makes sense,
right? Well, because you're getting into the groove, and the faster you play, the smoother things will sound sometimes because you're I call it cruising. You're cruising around the kit, and it's just like slower. I mean, you can sound great slow too, but just that progression of going quicker and you're getting the rebounds faster and it just sounds so much smoother. And
right.
So you just want to keep going and drive the song faster and faster. It's bad. I do it a lot. Jesse will yell at me sometimes. So that was a quick one. Sorry.
Yeah, I've definitely had some of those moments myself because I'm playing bass. If your bass is loud enough, you can basically control the whole band.
Yeah, bass and the drummer, they're like in charge.
They really are. Yeah. And it's that rhythm section. If you just push everything up a hair, suddenly that whole song can just change completely so quickly. Are you planning on serving any water or anything at the venue?
So I was thinking about I was gonna buy a couple of cases of water and Red Bull. But I wanted to be really careful about selling things because I'm not 100% sure on the legalities of it, and if I start selling water or if I start offering, what exactly I have to do. And
right, yeah, you might be better off just doing kind of like what they do at Higher Ground, where they have these bins of water,
right?
And you just get a cup, and that's what you've got.
Right, yeah. So we talked about it. I mean, I have this huge fridge here, and in the beginning, I was talking about I'm just going to go to Costco. I'm going to get a big thing of Red Bull, a couple of things of water, and we'll just, sell them for $1 each. And then somebody had mentioned to me, you might not want to do that until you do a couple of shows and you kind of get a feel for everything and see how everything goes. And
right, yeah, because I know the tax codes. You have to be registered in Vermont to sell things, and then they want to take a certain percentage of it. Yeah, it's definitely something you be careful with. And you have to put money into it to even get the tax registration. I went through that process with a company I had years ago that I completely dissolved before I did anything useful with. But yeah, I spent a couple $100 just getting the legalities set up. Yeah. And if you don't do that, then it can be even worse because suddenly they'll come at you. The whole state of Vermont's all up in arms because you didn't give them their 15 cents.
Right. So my thinking too was I wanted to see, before I invested too much money, I wanted to see like what was going to happen. Like I was going to throw the show, kind of see what I got for the first show, which I was expecting the bands and maybe like a +1. Everybody would bring a person, which we got about, I'd say maybe 40 people maybe.
Yeah, there was a good crowd here for being the first show. I was pretty impressed.
So, I spent maybe like $300 just getting like soundproofing blankets and a backdrop for the stage and some lights and just as cheap as I could to make it look good.
Oh yeah, it looks great out there. It looks really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of just guerrilled it. Whatever I could find that was on Amazon or eBay. I think my backdrop was a bunch of. I went to Target after Halloween, and they had a bunch of like these door banners that you hang where you walk through a door. So I just bought like 40 of them and lined them up on the wall to make it a backdrop.
Yeah, it looks cool. I really like the backdrop behind the bands.
But yeah, so we talked about that. I'll probably wait. My next big show will be at the end of December. I have a hip hop show coming on, and then in the beginning of January, I'm gonna have a hardcore show here.
Cool.
So with the hardcore show, it's another band that rents here, Old North End, and they'll have just released their new album. So we're by then I might get my feet wet with it, but I need to baby steps,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you get that support from the community, get some help, and then you can move on with making it. I'm
supposed to be meeting with a commerce woman of Colchester next week and the landlord here just to like so she can help support me with some things. So she helps me make sure I'm dotting all my I's, as we go. But
yeah, well, it's already coming together. I
Yeah.
mean, that show was great. I had so much fun at that show.
yeah, I wish that I think not having to play and work it will be a lot easier. Because either way, just by myself running around, it's a lot of work.
Yeah. Or you can maybe get someone you trust to kind of do more of the management if you're planning on playing that night.
Right, yeah. It's a lot to like greet everybody, make sure everybody's good, show them where the bathroom is, and make sure that everybody feels safe and there's no issues, and helping the band set up and break down. It's just all these little things you don't anticipate until the night of the show when they're happening. And like one of the big things was music between acts. Like I never thought of it, never crossed my mind.
Right, and then all of a sudden, hey, it's really quiet.
Right, and well then this Brian who he played second, the acoustic.
He was awesome.
Yeah, he's really great. He used to play in a band called Better Things, and they were amazing. He was like, "What are you gonna do about music?" And I was like, "I don't know. What do you mean?" So we tried setting my laptop up, but I didn't have the right stuff here. It was at my house, so we rigged up my cell phone. But then it was like every time a band would stop, I had to be there to like unlock my phone.
Literally be there.
Yeah. So.
Well, it all came together really well.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with it. It could have gone much, much worse.
Yeah. I actually had a couple friends come just because I was like, in case anything happened, because I was going to St. Mike's, like handing out flyers, and I was like, in case it gets crazy, I was like, I want a couple of friends here just to help me, like.
Right, because you're never sure that first night how many people
I had
show
no
up.
idea.
If 100 people here, that would have been really tight.
Yeah, it would have been insane. But
what do you think the most exciting thing happening in the music scene in Vermont is right now?
I think that the most exciting thing right now is just the sense of community that the Burlington scene seems to have. They have the DIY Facebook thing, Facebook group that 10 years ago wasn't there. So you're able to communicate with each other, help throw shows, help reach other bands to book shows, help to plan podcasts, help to plan anything. And
that Facebook group, DIY Burlington, is actually where I found Matthew.
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, it's definitely worth checking out if you're a musician.
Yeah, it's great. It definitely, it could be the Wild West sometimes. There is some opinions that will go cruising on there, but
yes, well, that's the world in general these days. Everyone has an opinion, and they're very vocal about it.
Yeah, so as long as you can, I use it just as a tool. Whenever I have a show going on, I'll post it on there, or if I see something interesting pop up on my Facebook feed, like when I saw your post, and I was like, I'll reach out. And
thank you very much for doing that, by the way. That was very exciting to reach out to the community and almost immediately have someone come back with a really cool story to talk about.
Yeah,
much appreciated.
Sure. Yeah, and then, just like that, and then people that I know that I think you would enjoy meeting or talking to, or other musicians that I think they should meet that are into the same thing. It's just, why not help them, connect those bridges, and then, hopefully by networking them together down the road, maybe, it'll come back to you 10 times fold. You never know.
Right.
Yeah.
Pay it forward.
Yeah, that's it.
So we talked a little bit about Big Heavy World. So do you want to talk about Big Heavy World?
Yeah, I mean, I can a little bit what I know about it. James Lockridge runs it. I believe he started it. God, I don't know the year. But James is great. As I was kicking around the idea of starting this place, I had him over here a few times. Jim's basement is a DIY spot in Burlington. There's shows. That's actually his house. He put shows on his basement.
Awesome. Good to hear about.
Yeah. My PA system that I have here, he gave to me. It was donated to him, and it was just too big for the space he's at right now. So he let me use it until he needs it back, which who knows when that'll be. And but it's basically a community place for anything in the community. If you want to go there and hang out, learn an instrument, they have a radio station, WOMMLP.
105.9.
Yeah. But he's great. They have classes there. There's a seminar going on. I believe it starts in December. It's like a three-step seminar for like people in the music industry in Burlington.
Oh, cool.
So I'm joining that. But
So it sounds like this whole Guardhouse studio is really kind of made in that same community vibe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was. I was trying to do something similar to what he was doing. My end goal was a little bit different, as far as mine's more musically focused. His is more community anything. So it's media, radio stations, art, everything. It's
Right.
really it's a place to go hang out and you're around good people and it's amazing.
And where's Big Heavy World located?
It's right on Howard Street, so right next to dealer.com off of Pine Street.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, so the radio station is like one of their entities there. And but it's great. They used to be right next to Speeder and Earl's on Pine Street, and
Yep.
they moved right around the corner in a little bit of a smaller space. But yeah, they're there. He's there every night, and it's great. Yeah, I
Cool.
would definitely reach out to him about anything that if you're looking to work in the community or you want to start a radio station or anything like that. He's the man to talk to.
Yeah, they're actually looking for radio DJs right now. If anyone's interested
Yeah.
in being a radio DJ in a community collaborative way.
Yeah, I mean, especially even if you're free during the day, Monday through Friday is the big time they need people, and you could have a talk show about being a single mom or whatever it could be.
Yeah, about anything,
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
The way podcasts have blown up, you can have a podcast about basically anything
Yeah.
in the world, and you can find a community for it.
Yeah, your love of ragdoll cats.
That's probably already something that
Yeah.
exists somewhere. So can you tell me a little bit about Nasty North Productions?
Yeah, so that was my first kind of jump into the media world, trying to start something. And it was really just when I was first getting into music and I started making videos, I started having people reach out to me wanting to have music videos made for them, or they wanted help editing. I had a few guys that were, they raced cars and they wanted to have videos done, and then they wanted me to edit them. So it was kind of an entity into that. And I just slowly started. I needed something to put at the end of my videos. And so I ended up with, when I lived in the South, everybody said the dirty South. So when I moved up here, it was this nasty North. And,
That's great.
yeah, so we just used it, and it's not really anything other than it's what I use to any of my videos I make. They're all just Nasty North Productions.
Right.
Just a way to kind of tie them together, so when you see that, you know that it's a video we made. And but yeah, we're gonna be doing some of Jesse's videos for the band. We're gonna be doing some other videos for a couple other bands that rent here. And
Awesome.
yeah,
And you can be found on YouTube for that?
yeah, YouTube Nasty North Productions, Instagram Nasty North Productions, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere.
All
yeah.
the social medias. So Matthew, can you tell everyone a good way to get in touch with you again?
Yeah, sure. So on Facebook, it's just Matt Sicard, Sicard. On Instagram, it's either gonna be the Guardhouse Studio or Nasty North Productions, either one. Same with Facebook. I have both of those, Nasty North Productions and the Guardhouse Studio. My best email, if you're interested in getting in touch, booking a show, renting a space, even if you want to rent a space to practice your drums once a month, reach out. We have kits here that we rent by the hour. That's just theguardhousestudio@gmail.com. And yeah.
So Matthew, where's the studio located again?
It's located at 162 Hegeman Drive, Hegeman Drive in Colchester, in the Old Fort. We're, if you're familiar with the fort at all, we're right across from Old Fort Auto. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Yeah, I don't know. Thank you. I'm really excited just to be able to help and be a part of this. Yeah.
Please reach out to Matthew if you guys have any questions, if you're interested in renting a rehearsal space, if you want to know more about VAMP, the Vermont
Adolescent music program.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Please reach out to Matthew. Please reach out to me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Woo-hoo, thank you. Another big thank you to Matt for being the first guest on the show. I'm eternally grateful. I learned a lot doing the interview, and I think it turned out awesome. Let me know what you think by going to the Facebook page, Burlington Talks. you should find me immediately. You can also send me an email to Becca, BECCA, @burlingtontalks.com. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.